Right, good evening, everyone. We're live for episode 32 of the No Punches Pulled podcast. Fear not, the Housewives' favourite will be with us very shortly. And that's not Liam. I'm talking about JFT, of course. But for now, Liam, we're here for Joyce Hrgovic Fight Week. How are we, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. I mean, yes, I think the excitement we had initially for this card when we had those 3 fights announced. So obviously, initially it was Joyce White, Akoli Riakporhe, and then Adelaide, TKV was kind of the little bonus, wasn't it, on the top of the cherry? I think 2 of those fell off, and we kind of went, oh, flipping sod's law, isn't it? But I think as we got closer, the excitement's come back. I really think Joyce has one more performance left in him, as I was saying last night. I think Adelaide will make a statement for the British title. You know, I just think it could still be a good card. Look, it's lost its real big wham bam, here's our welcome to the zone moment, but there's still some good names on there who I'm looking forward to seeing out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we may as well get kicking right into it because we've got fights all over the globe. Janabek with a homecoming in Astana. Tszyu, it's a homecoming as well, isn't it? It's returning home to Australia after fighting in America for all those years. Obviously, Joyce Hrgovic in Manchester. You got Shakan Pitters versus Dos Santos for the European light heavyweight on Friday night. And what's the one I'm missing? Richard Torrez against Vianello as well. So we got fights all over the place to get stuck right into. Big up, Antonio. Hope you're well, my friend. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. Much appreciated over there in the US. We'll wait for Jay then, mate, to get stuck into Hrgovic and Joyce and Adelaide against TKV. We'll save that for when Jay rocks up. Where else would you want to start preview wise?
I mean, let's start in America, mate. Let's start with Torrez and Vianello. I think that's sneakily going under the radar. I think that could be a very good fight. I think Torrez is going to have to show all the best bits we've seen of him so far, and perhaps a little bit more to come through this. He's not a tin can in front of him. It's a very game opponent that's coming off the back of a career best win against Makhmudov last summer. So it's an intriguing crossroads fight. And as we were alluding to last night, American boxing, not just top rank, American boxing period is crying out for another heavyweight star. And Richard Torrez, I don't think is that guy, but there's every chance that he could be the next one to sort of fall off the carousel, a bit like what happened to Jared Anderson last summer with Bakoli if he does lose on Saturday night.
Yeah, definitely. Big up JFT. Just saying the Housewives are missing you, but the viewership will be going through the roof, no doubt.
iPad upgrade. Yeah, we're good. Sorry, my fucking iPad decided it needed an update and it's locked out.
No, you're all right, mate. Don't worry. Evening, Pat. Hope you're well, mate. Yes, Liam, I agree with you. That's going to be a quality fight. It could probably steal the show this weekend. Jay Troy is on the undercard as well, so we've got to give him a shout out.
Yeah, he's got a tough fight, man. He's got a really, really tough fight. He's fighting a prospect that's only had 1 defeat. He's got a bit of traction behind him, so obviously he's local. He's gone out to the States. I mean, he has boxed in the States before in WSB. I think he boxed the Cuban world champion or Olympic champion in WSB. So as an international amateur, he's boxed in the States. But look, has Gum Shield will travel. Him and his coach, Craig, have gone out to Vegas. He's been wined and dined. I don't know if they're trying to make him fall a little bit soft. He's been training. In fact, he met with Davey Grant yesterday, ironically, two Northeast lads.
Big up Davey Grant.
UFC PI, both fighting this weekend, sort of representing. So, it's a tough fight for him, but look, it's a new weight division. He's only just started at 160. He made his pathway and career at 154. He was the British champion, the IBF European champion. I'm excited for him. Look, he's taking a shot. And you know, there's 1,000 cliches I could say, but you got to be in it to win it. So, you know, I'm confident in him. He's confident in himself. He don't need to hear it from me, but you know, fingers crossed he can pull it off because, you know, he's put himself on the big stage coming off the back of some, I wouldn't say bad performances, but bad results, let's say, because, you know, he's boxed Ishmael Davis, who we know is very, very good. Josh Kelly, if anybody remembers him, it's a kid that used to box about 25 years ago that seems to fight once every couple of years. And Quaveen Ajako. But ironically, he's like the Black Widow is Troy, because every time someone fights him, they don't fight again. And I'm talking about his last. I think there's Mason Cartwright that's boxed regularly after him, but Cheeseman's never boxed since. Josh Kelly hasn't boxed. Ajako, I think he's boxed once or maybe not at all.
He boxed on Sunday, Kevin did.
But what I'm saying is that was his first fight since he boxed Troy.
Yeah.
So yeah, good luck, Troy. We'll be watching. And it'll put him in the shop window internationally and put him back in the mix over here. So yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, definitely. We may as well then get stuck into Manchester now. We've got the full squad here. Look, TKV against Adelaide is what it is, isn't it? Well, we went pretty hard on it last night. If just that's putting it politely, if we're being completely honest. But look, I'd be surprised if TKV wins it on Saturday night. Like, I'd be legitimately surprised.
Yeah, not for me. I'll let Liam go first while I move this bloody laptop around. So just excuse me. Go on, Liam.
Look, my opinions on TKV, I've said before. I don't get it, especially as a heavyweight, to not want to punch a hole in people, to be quite happy to just go pitter patter for 6 rounds, as I've unfortunately seen him do on more than one occasion. I just think someone like Adelaide, someone now that's working with Adam Booth, who's going to have him boxing in a specific style that they will have spent, the last 6-7 months perfecting, which is why it was so long before he came back against Dakers after the defeat to Fabio. I just think it's a horrible matchup to TKV. Yes, he's now got a caveat of a British title in front of him, but it's only really up for grabs for one of the fighters in there, and Adelaide can end the fight whenever he wants. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it goes early, which is what we said last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's, as an English title fight, you could kind of stomach it and understand it. Now it's been rushed through as an upgrade for the British. You're like, oh, is this really the best person we could get in for Adelaide? When you think about Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen, etc., there's better heavyweights you could be putting into challenge for the British title. I'd even put Fraser Clark back in there. I know he's obviously coming back against Tete in a couple of weeks, but even Fraser Clark going in against Adelaide.
Yeah, big Fraser against Adelaide is a good fight, actually.
Might see that, mate. Wouldn't at all surprise me. Fraser comes back with a couple of wins. It wouldn't at all surprise me.
Yeah,
well, hear you, boys.
What did he say?
You can't hear us.
Oh, right. While Jay gets his audio back up and running, I've got he's gone. Boxing GBM Saturday, Friday GBM Saturday, Queensbury Sunday, PBC Down Under. Yeah, big weekend. DJ Pat indeed. Do like these weekends where the cards are staggered and they're not clashing with each other. It's always a bonus. Pat's with we are thinking for it, Liam.
Look, I won't say it's a sensational weekend, because let's be very honest, we're going to talk about 5 fights tonight, but we're taking 1 fight near enough from every card that's going on this weekend. There's going to be a lot of deadwoods, a lot of mismatches, with all due respect to some of the fighters on the cards that we're going to have to get through. But the 5 or 6 top-end fights we've got are fantastic fights. It's just a shame that you're sort of going to have to wade through some substandard stuff to get to them. If this was all one card that's got the 6 fantastic fights on, it would be a cracking night. But look,
be February 22nd.
Look, that's a little moan, but the reality is we got boxing on Friday, we got Saturday tea time, Saturday evening, just after midnight, I believe, for Tszyu, and then we'll watch it on Sunday morning for Torrez and Vianello, most likely, won't we? So it's cracking, mate. You can't complain, and the schedule's heating up. Next week's Boots Stanionis, then both Matchroom and Boxer are going over Easter. Then it's the Ben Eubank Circus, which looks like Richard Riakpor's being added to that card. I'm not sure if you've seen it. He said 95% certain I'm going to be on that card in an interview he gave yesterday, I think, to TalkSport. Don't know who against. And then it's that mental bank holiday weekend, Times Square, Riyadh and Vegas, which is, just everything you kind of want from fights, isn't it?
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. JFT's back in the building.
Now we can't hear him.
Can you hear me now? No.
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, you're back.
Fire. Right. Where are we?
Right, we're let's do Joyce Hrgovic. Let's just go in. After that, we'll do Tszyu. Then I've got a few talking points actually that I want both of your thoughts on. So look, We gave our predictions for it last night, but loser is in a terrible spot, aren't they, on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I watched an interview earlier on today with Joe Joyce. I mean, he's done if he loses. I think.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's finished.
But the way Team Hrgovic were talking after his last performance or loss, I think it would be a devastating. It would have a devastating impact on his own career at that level.
Well, Hrgovic said he was retiring if he lost to Dubois.
There you go, then. So we know he chats shit then for a start off. But no, I think this could, because of the way, not me personally, but the way the industry and fans talk about Joe Joyce and the way that us as boxing fans are so fickle, and he's gone from being the juggernaut to sort of a journeyman in 3 performances, is astounding. But what I'm saying is, if that's the way the industry sees him, if Hrgovic loses to him, given what they were saying about Hrgovic 18 months ago, then he must only retire if he loses at the weekend. I think the only way that neither of them is if they eke out a flipping draw and they have to go again. But I think whoever loses that fight, it is their final fight for me.
Yeah. Look, it is an absolute crossroads fight. And again, it's similar to cliches we could have brought up with Troy rolling the dice over in Vegas. It's win and stay on. It's if you don't win, you're kind of having to make a decision if you really want to go and rebuild, which, let's be honest, both of them at the age they're at aren't going to want to go back down to 6-8 rounders, are they? They want to either be at the top table or not at all. So it's who's got more left. Joe Joyce, look, the Parker stoppage has been doing the rounds on X today, hasn't it? And you think after that fight, as we've already said, Joe Joyce was going to be the world champion. The same after he beat Dubois in 2020. His fall off against Parker has been quite remarkable if you think about it. He's had 1 win since he beat Joe Parker, and that was when he laboured against Cash Ali. I mean, think about that. Lost to Zhang twice, lost to Chisora, just about managed to beat, old bitey Cash. But I think with Hrgovic, I was never sold on him fully 100% before. And then I feel like the Dubois fight, we sort of saw that when the going gets tough, he doesn't fully want to be in there. He was, he was cut badly, yes, but he was complaining to his corner. He wasn't showing good signs in his corner, was he? He was sort of looked at beating fighters for 2 or 3 rounds before the doctor stops it. So who's got more left? The evidence would say that Joe Joyce has virtually nothing left off of what we've seen, especially from the Chisora fight. Yes, he was competitive in that fight, but his punch resistance is definitely gone as he was dropped by Chisora, and he just has no more movement anymore. He's just happy to stand there and trade. So I back Joyce. I think he's got 1 more performance in him. And I actually think, like I said, Hrgovic is a better opponent for him stylistically than Dillian White, because Hrgovic will ask questions of Joe, will try and box him, as opposed to having a standout phone box war, which I think Dillian White would have done. So it actually, in retrospect, yes, it's more dangerous, but could be more suited to Joe Joyce's opponent.
Yeah, definitely. Big up TJ in the chat. Hope you're well, my friend. Thanks for tuning in as always. Go on, Jay.
I think Joe's lucky that Hrgovic doesn't hit necessarily as hard as some of his previous opponents. I mean, Zhilei Zhang, possibly one of the hardest hitters in the top 10. I
think Zhang could be the biggest puncher.
That's what I mean.
Outside him or Wilder. But
Chisora can whack. I don't think, I know this is going to sound mental, but when you look at the people that Wilder knocked dead, he's only ever knocked, I mean, who's he knocked dead at the top level?
Yeah,
really?
His claim to fame is knocking down Fury 4 or 5 times.
But never knocked him dead.
But never knocked him out. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either, mate, to be fair.
But it's similar to Mike Tyson. They were half beat before they got in there. You saw the likes of Bermain Stavern and people like that just turned up. Malik Scott. Think about whether you think that's dodgy or not. But some of I saw him live, and it did sound ferociously hard. I'm not going to lie. I sat ringside when he knocked Fraudley Harrison out. But he gets a swing from his hips. When he's jabbing and throwing from his shoulders, he don't hit. I reckon Zhang hits way harder than him from the shoulders.
I think Zhang could possibly. He's got the Brazil knockout and the Hellenius knockout was scary, to be fair. And the Artur Spilka, was it, where he was. Yeah,
that was his first offense.
He caught Spilker coming on from him.
Yeah. But they're not elite fighters, any of them.
Absolutely not. Any elite ones that he's hit have still been there, other than the Cuban, as you said.
Ortiz. Again, that was...
He was like...
Fury's out on his birth certificate.
But he was 7-0 down against Ortiz. I know, look, if you stop a fight, you stop a fight, but he was 7-0 down against Ortiz in that rematch before he stopped him dead.
Yeah,
so
I'll put it out here first. I'll put it out here first, and I know I'm going off track, but Wilder will get beat in that fight. Wilder will get
I think there's a good potential he loses that.
We've had this conversation, yeah.
But no, I was going to ask you about that, but yeah, there's probably no point. It is what it is. I don't hate Wilder doing it, because it's like he needs to know whether he can fight anymore, because his last few fights, he hasn't, like Liam said the other day, hasn't thrown a right hand in 4 years.
Do those last 2 fights not tell him he can't? He went for 36 minutes against Joe Parker, and I think landed under 100 punches, and then.
What are you thinking? How did Parker not stop Wilder that night?
No confidence, man. Parker's Wilder's void of confidence. He's similar to Hrgovic. He's a very, very... Once he's leading the race, it's difficult to catch up with him. And if you allow Wilder to manipulate the ring and keep you in front of him and just tee off on you, I won't say look $1 million, but it maybe looks 500 grand. But Hrgovic is very similar as well. He will look really good on the front foot. And you saw against Dubois, once he got cut and he's dabbing at it and he's moaning to his corner and he's pointing here and he's moaning about this, you could see the confidence just drain out of him. Nathan cleverly did it when he got cracked against Kovalev and he felt it. And as soon as he felt it, you'll see he went grey. The colour just drained out of him and his confidence just went, and it was over for him. And I think we will see very early on Saturday night what they've both got left. I think I'm not so worried about Joe getting knocked out by a one punch. I could see him getting accumulation and getting stopped on his feet or knocked over and sort of stopped with a barrage. But if Joe, remember 18 months ago, he was wearing the flipping juggernaut helmet and we were all singing his praises and Dubois quit and whatnot. If Joe nails Hrgovic, we will know pretty early what he's got left, because the way he reacts to that shot, I don't mean like you can physically not go down from a shot if you don't want to, but what I'm saying is we'll see his reaction after taking a big shot. He'll either just fall to pieces or he'll dig deep and they'll have a scrap. It's an intriguing fight for me. I know a lot of people poo-pooed it, but I'm the closer it gets, the more intrigued I am by it, because there's a lot of answers to questions that will hopefully get answered on Saturday.
Yeah, this is what I said before you came on, mate. When we lost the fights we lost from this card, we all kind of went, that's a shame. It's not as good now. But as it's got closer, especially this main event, we're going to find out a lot more about Joe Joyce against Hrgovic than we would have done against White. That's my opinion.
Absolutely. The White fight was just a fight. We'd watch it because it's two Brits, but it has no bearing on the world stage. As really, it's more domestic fight. But with Hrgovic's rankings, he's only had that loss. So if Joyce flattened him, for example, inside 2 or 3 rounds, that puts him straight back in the mix for some big fights. I mean, we'll probably see him fight Joshua if he does that, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if he labours to a split decision points, we could still see a retirement, because he might just be seeing what he's got left. We don't know that Joe's not asking himself these, or the pair of them could be asking themselves these questions internally. What
battle of whose confidence is the lowest? Both of them are in that position. Big up to Jibbers Mercer in the chat. Wilder became soft. The bronze bomber left him after the Fury fights, in my opinion. Even to humble apple crumble. TJ says Wilder's done. Agrees with what you boys were saying there about it being a better fight than Dillian White. Boys, are going to move it on quickly. 2 more main events to get through before I want to ask you about a couple of things that have come out over the last few days. I was going to say any interest in Janabek. Clearly, there's no interest in Janabek this weekend. I barely heard it mentioned, to be fair. But he's fighting undefeated Frenchman, Amwell and Gamiseng, 14-0. He's having a homecoming in Astana. Yeah, look, it is what it is, mate. Hamza's moved up, hasn't he? Up to 168 now. So, like, why? Like, if I'm Janibek, right? He's what, 31, 32 years old now, 32.
Yeah.
Like, his career's really, really like flattening
stagnated
out, in my opinion. You know, he needs to either move up to 168 and get in that mix because Pacheco and Billy, Canelo, Plant, etc. The money's at one. There's no money at all in 160 at all. Look, TJ, to be fair, I've never seen or heard him fight, so he could be amazing, and that is granted. But it's more Janibek that I'm thinking about. Like, his career's going nowhere, boys, right now, in my opinion.
Treadmill. He's on a treadmill. He's on a treadmill. He's not moving forward. He's not going backwards. Like you said, he's just stagnated. He's sort of plateauing, which is great for marketing because you retain your belts. But let's look at the likes of Charlo. We were talking about him. I think me and Liam were talking about him on our show last week. You know, he's been a champion for how long? 3 years? 5 years? God knows. He hasn't boxed for 2. And I'm not saying Janibek's not fighting, but he's not fighting anybody of any note, really. He's not, you know, when was the last time us three sat and was really excited about a fight that he had coming up? Because I can't remember that.
I remember one.
Nah, couldn't tell you.
You know, and as a champ, he needs to be in the big fights. And if he can't get those, like you said, at 160 is sort of like a feeder division at the minute, isn't it?
It is. Like, even if you fight to Dames, it's a 3-belt unification, or if you fight to Lara, it's yeah, exactly. TJ, I agree, fought Danny Dingham, didn't he, not long ago, I'm sure.
There you go. No disrespect to
no disrespect, of course, to, you know, okay, I'll read you out his last 6. Danny Dingham, Denzel, Stephen Butler, Gualtieri, and Mikhailovic last time out.
Yeah.
There is last 6.
It's not a who's who, is it? It's, you know, like I said, it's a feeder division. It's like 160's gone. When I was sort of in my teens and 20s, middleweight was the division, and super middleweight wasn't really as big as what it is now. But like you've just reeled them all off, Plants and people like that, Belanga. There's some massive fights at 168 for him. If he's not gonna unify and complete the game, so to speak, and clock the game at 160, then move up, because you're holding a belt that somebody else could have. You know, there's people that could challenge for that belt. So yeah, I'd like to see him put this kid to sleep at the weekend and then scream for one of the other champions, or just lay his belt down and say, I'm moving up.
Yeah, definitely. Man Mitch TV in the house. Big up. Jay's normally got something to say. Where is it?
He's just stagnated. It's just like you've just said. I mean, what's he done? He's fought mandatories or voluntaries for both of his belts, kind of back to back to back. He's not unified or tried to move on. There's been no talk of Adames or Lara or anything, has there? It's not as if we've missed it. The talk's just not been there. It's almost as if he's just comfortable sitting with the 2 belts that he's got.
Have I gone?
And if no one will take him off him,
buffering at my end.
And then if no one will take him off him, he'll just keep fighting with those belts. He's got no desires to unify. He's got no desires to move up. That's how it's starting to feel with Janibek. If he can make a statement on Saturday and then we get a unification fight in the summer, or he moves up, all will be forgiven. But if he carries on doing this, look, he's a fearsome puncher. And some of his stoppages, you know, they're ones you go back and watch because they go on a highlight reel. But it's getting to a point now where he's only doing this to a certain level of opponent. I want to see what he does to Adames. I want to see what he does if he moves up to 168 against the likes of, you know, Plan or Belanga or Skull or Charlo, etc. That's what I want to see, or Munguia. That's what I want to see from him. So it's kind of, you know, get this one out of the way, then either move up or get a unification. That's what
it's not like he's tight at 160 anyway.
Incredibly.
Janibek, he put himself in hospital trying to make weight in the first time he was meant to fight Mikhailovic. Evening, Dave. Hope you're well, mate. PBC and Top Rank are working together going forward. The Janibek, yeah. Look, I don't even want to see him in them fights. I want to see him at 168. Boys, let's quickly move on because I'm conscious of time. Tim Tszyu is fighting Joey Spencer in the early hours of it's going to be about midnight, I think, our time on Saturday night. Tszyu is in big trouble if he loses his 3rd fight in a row this weekend. it's set up for him to win, isn't it? To be fair, but there could be some demons after that that fight against Murtazaliev. Liam, I remember me and you watched it live, and we were kind of gobsmacked about what kind of unfolded. But Murtazaliev clearly is no joke. But Tszyu was battered for 2 or 3 rounds there, wasn't he? So there's going to be some demons in there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, look, the Fundora loss you can look at and take it for what it was. It was a tight fight where the fact that he was cut as badly as he was from as early as the second round, you kind of take, don't you? You can lose those fights. They're narrow defeats. It can happen to fighters in their career. Murtazaliev absolutely beat the dog crap out of him for 3 rounds. The referee could have stopped it after the second knockdown. His corner could have stopped it. It just wasn't a comfortable 8.5 minutes that we spent watching, was it, Sam? It was almost as if it's the type of performance that some fighters never come back from. Think about the beating Calzaghe put on Jeff Lacey. Lacey was never the same again in his career. That is a possibility with Tim Tszyu. We're not going to know until he's in the ring.
Exciting fight.
What version of Tim Tszyu's left?
Yeah.
So let's find out. I mean, this opponent is tailor-made for him to get rid of inside the first 6 rounds, and then we get the Furman fight in June the 24th. I think it's the rumored date for that, if I've seen correctly. So let's see what he's got left. I'm a big Tim Tszyu fan. I want to see him get another tilt at the belts, but you can't be slipping up against the likes of Joey Spencer, that's for sure.
Yeah. Jay? I think Jay's having some connection issues. Can you hear him, Liam?
I can't hear him.
No, I think you're having connection issues, Jay. We can't hear you for some reason. No, he's gone.
I know. Sorry, mate. Just quickly, I think look, if I'm Tim Tszyu as well, I'm going to be a bit hacked off because PBC have allowed me to go back home to Australia. They've allowed me to fight in Newcastle, which is his suburb of Australia, which he's not done since his 4th or 5th pro fight. But then they're making him fight on American time. If you let him go back to Australia, let him do it properly. He's proven before with the fights he's had in Australia, he doesn't need to fight to an American audience to get the crowd in. If you're going to let him go home, let him do a homecoming properly, because you guarantee the Keith Thurman fight, they're not going to do for an American audience. They're talking about doing that on a Wednesday, Thursday night, like he did with the Jeff Horn fight, etc. So you kind of want to see him make a statement. Look, we've seen rumours that Joey Spencer may be pulling out, and we just hope that doesn't happen, because Tim Tszyu's opponent falling off at this point would be disastrous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I heard Zarafa's on standby, to be fair, if that is the case. Yes, Pat, actually, that's going to lead into my next talking point, because I've got this on my notes. So let's get into the news now, Liam, while we wait for Jay. So they're, as Pat said, they're going to be on the same card May 31st. And then there's rumours that they're going to be fighting each other on...
Fun, boys. Fucking hell, I'm having a night.
Back. We've got him. Back. Jamal Charlo against Plant then for the September-October time, I think, is the plan. Jamal Charlo's career's kind of just gone to pot, hasn't it? Really hasn't fought. He fought one comeback fight, didn't he, or something? He's been out for 2 years. So didn't Plant slap him or something backstage? Yeah, so that's probably the narrative.
I think Charlo slapped Plant, didn't he? And then Plant stuck it on him sort of backstage at a fight. But
yeah,
Plant's about that.
Definitely something that's happened with him before, isn't it? Hasn't it?
Look, like Jay's just said, we know Plant's about that life. We saw the build up to the Canelo fight. We saw the digging of the grave after he knocked down Darrell. We saw how the McCumbee build up kind of came, because McCumbee had a few words for him and his team at the press conference. It doesn't make any difference what Charlo does. I mean, you're going to put them on the same cards, so you can guarantee there's going to be some fireworks before this May card, before they hopefully both come through their fights. But Charlo wouldn't waste time giving Charlo a warm-up fight. We don't know what he's got left. He could come unstuck on May the 31st. He's we're talking about, we're not sure if Wilder's going to win on June 20th. I put Charlo in the same camp. What's he actually got left? I'd make this fight out rather than wasting.
Yeah, they'll probably give him somebody who can't hit back, I would say, on May 31st. That'll be interesting. I'm game for that. Couple more to go through. I've read that Stephen Fulton could be moving up to super feather to fight Ashaki Foster. So WBC champ at feather Fulton fighting WBC champ at super feather, in which case Ray Vargas and Tszyu Carrington would be fighting for the WBC featherweight championship.
Sign me up.
What do you think of that?
Sign me up.
Yeah.
So Ray Vargas is champion in recess, I think, at the moment.
He's because he's not fought since that draw against Nick Ball, which was really a loss for him, if we're being honest. So, look, it's great fights all round, if you ask me. I'm intrigued to see what Fulton can do if he moves up again. And give me Tszyu fighting. We spoke about Tszyu on Sunday, didn't we, mate? We want to see him step up now. He's had another good performance where he stopped a guy that had never been stopped before, but he done it emphatically with 2 or 3 knockdowns before the ref jumped in. So this is the step we want to see. Keyshawn's made the step up this year and is now a world champion when we wanted to see it happen. So let's see it happen now with Tszyu. And, you know, we're talking about the next generation of top-ranked fighters coming through. Well, Keyshawn is there at the moment. They want to utilize that star, and Tszyu picking up a belt, that just carries that on for him as well, doesn't it? Top rank need that to go to script for them, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And then what else have we got? Oh yeah, Inoue and Nakatani. Yeah, did we see the Japanese event they were at the other day or yesterday or whatever it was? They've got a gentleman's agreement in place to fight each other this time next year.
Oh my God! This time next year?
Yeah, this time next year.
Well, Inoue's fighting MJ in September. Apparently that's done, which I'm happy about. Then I've heard it's Nick Ball potentially in Saudi in December. If that is the case, and then it's Nakatani next year, I'll take it. But if it's Cardenas and someone else like that, then nah, do one.
It's too far away though for me. They should be fighting this year, man. Because they're just stringing it out. They're just going to build it up and build it up. And they're just, yeah. I don't think that fight's ever going to happen, you know. I really don't.
I know what you mean.
I'd replace the Nick Ball fight in December with this fight. If I know we're Brit biased over here, but I would take out the Nick Ball fight in December and let us see that this year. That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sign me up.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else, boys, that's transpired over the last week or so that tell you what, this transpired. One of you sent it in yesterday. The contract for Whittaker Cameron.
Yeah.
You seen that?
Yeah.
Well, obviously you've both seen it because one of you sent it in. But I mean, we're not lawyers or anything like that. But if Ben Whittaker's signed that, then I feel like there's not really any way out of the 12-rounder.
Like Carl Frampton said in his interview with the Stomping Ground today, whoever is the lawyer for boxing needs to sack him, because to send that contract out and then be sending another one, an hour or so later, that's a massive boogie on there.
Yeah, you've also got to bear in mind that we've had one version of events, and that's William Cameron's version of events, right? So you could fucking give him a contract on the back of a fag packet and he'd probably need somebody to translate it for him. He's not the sharpest tool in the box. So I don't believe that it's gone as black and white as what Liam Cameron has said on TalkSport this morning. I heard him on TalkSport this morning.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's gone as straightforward and black and white as that. Maybe they've offered a contract, but he's signed his half, and then they've tried to renegotiate. I just don't think it's.
Well, yeah, I heard that they tried to get another one over and, you know, say it was a mistake and all that. But Team Cameron are within their right to stamp. You know, apparently, you know, Uncle Frank's dealing with this. Remember, Frank Warren ain't no backing down from any of that. You've got no chance.
Well, Frank said today, look, there's only one thing that we do: just pay him. If you want him to fight 10, you pay him to fight 10. It's that simple. It's just a negotiation tactic. Give him another 10 grand or whatever, 20 grand. You know, buy him some clothes.
Mean, yeah. It's one version of events. Look, with the track record of Boxer, it wouldn't surprise me if they have done this. It would just be a typical Boxer thing to do with some of the mistakes they've made in negotiations in the past. But like Jay said, it's Liam Cameron's version of events, and Liam Cameron, again, putting himself out there with a moan rather than putting himself out there showing us how hard he's training for this rematch, if that makes sense. Unless I'm mistaken, we've not heard anything from Ben, which compared to how Ben has been is a good thing. But we've heard lots from Liam, but not a lot of it's been training, unless I've missed it.
No, I watched a YouTube sort of documentary-ish where him and this kid were driving around and they had a film crew with him and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he's just doing what any of us would do. He's milking it for what he can get. But the problem for Liam Cameron is there's a long way to fall if he gets beat. A long way to fall. Remember, Frank signed him on the back of getting a draw with Ben Whittaker because he knew the fanfare that had come with, nearly beating Ben Whittaker. But as I said, he needs to just concentrate on the fight. Stop trying to get at Ben Whittaker. You got at him the first time. He went over the ropes. You said he cheated. He said he didn't. There was the issues. You've had the face off. Ben did that stupid thing with the egg. Just go train. The fight's sold, isn't it? The fight's done. It's sold. It's signed and sealed. Allegedly at 12 rounds now. But I'm sick of hearing Liam Cameron now. I am sick to death of hearing him. And I know the kid. And I'm sick of fucking hearing him. Just train and fight already.
Yeah, roll on April the 20th.
Is that what it is? 2 weeks?
20th of April.
2 weeks. 2 weeks Sunday.
Yeah, 2 weeks Sunday. Love it. Eddie Hearn's talking about Sandy versus Chantel Cameron.
I've seen
Sandy's not big enough. Sandy's not big enough for 154. I think she's a 140 that's fought at 147. She just don't look big enough frame-wise.
What weight did Michaela Meyer fight against Baumgardner at? Was it 135? 135. And she looked massive at welterweight, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't know. Chantel needs a fight, though. She's at Queensbury, kind of just shelved. Do you not think?
It's sad, really. It's sad because she was a unified world champion 12 months ago. Ish.
She left Matchroom and left Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis to kind of get put as number one priority and get given the respect she feels justifiably she deserves. Look, let's see what happens this year, but it hasn't worked out for her so far, has it? I mean, me and Sam made the joke last week. The Queensbury stable of female fighters is Raven Chapman and Chantel Cameron, isn't it? I can't think of many others they've got. So she's in a difficult place now. Unless
the marketing for her is horrendous. Do you know the only noise I've heard out of Chantel Cameron this past 6 months is her asking for sponsorship on LinkedIn. That's it.
Big up Hawkan. Hawkan's a big follower of women's boxing. He knows the crack, and he's saying the same thing himself. She is shelved, Hawkan.
But she's too good. That's why, without titles, she's the queen of the Who Needs Her club. Who's going to want to box Chantel Cameron? If you're not potentially going to win a world title, she's too hard a night for any girl to just fight for a name, because there's not many who'll beat her. I mean, she beat Katie Taylor arguably twice, or at least pushed her closer than anybody at the second one. So unless she gets a belt or gets a title shot, I think she's going to be out in the cold for a while.
Yeah.
She's
interim, isn't she? She's like interim champion, but Taylor and Serrano.
WBC interim, mate, yeah. She's WBC interim. So Frank done what he's done with a lot of fighters when he first moves them over. He gets them an interim world title when they first come over. But unfortunately, her leaving and staying in the UK, it would have made more sense to go to Boxer, because we've spoken about their female stable and what they do. If she was going to leave Matchroom, and look, we understand why she'd done it, because she was never going to get above Katie Taylor in Matchroom's eyes, and we know why, because of what Matchroom had done with Katie. Boxer was the place to go. Ben Shalom and Sky would have been a better home for her than what she's ended up with over with Frank. Definitely. At the moment, look, we can be proven wrong, but for the time being, that's how it looks.
Definitely. Problem is, I know what you mean, Pat. Boys, anything else that I've missed that you wanna cover off? I know there's a lot of moving parts with the heavyweights, but I feel like we've covered it off.
Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao, is it April Fools or what? I fucking hope so.
Oh dear, I know.
I'll go though. If it's over here, I'll go. I think I'd go to that just to see Manny more than Amir. I've seen Amir a couple of times, but I'd like to get the opportunity to watch Pacquiao. I think, even though
I said it says the O2 on that thing that Amir shared, doesn't it? So let's see. I think it's a belated April Fool's. I hope it is.
So do I.
The thing is, though, it is boxing as well. You just never know these days.
Oh, yeah, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I thought if they'd have had that fight, they'd have had it in somewhere like Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Saudi.
Well, it's been rumored in Dubai, hasn't it, before?
Yeah, so I'm not fully sold because they're saying it's over here at the O2. It's Amir Khan's not with a promoter. I mean, he doesn't necessarily need a promoter. He could probably sell that out against Pacquiao on his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a strange one. But no, I think there's nothing on my list that you haven't covered.
No, mate.
No, definitely not.
Nothing else.
Well, I think the boys will be back tomorrow for Straight Talk on JFT, so get subbed up and get listening to that. We'll potentially cover off some more predictions if we're feeling it later in the week. We'll be back, obviously, for the usual stuff this weekend. Joyce Hrgovic, big up to DJ Pat, Hawkan, TJ, Humble Apple Crumble, David Roper out the Mad Mitch TV, Jibbs Mercer and Antonio. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Jay Liam, pleasure as always. 32 episodes in the books. We'll no doubt see you all a little bit later in the week. Top man, Pat, thank you very much as always. Sorry, Hawkan, just before we go, is Queensby having anyone on? Look, they should do, but look, no chance in hell will I have anyone there, in my opinion. That's just
and that fight won't happen. She's not fighting Katie Taylor or Serrano. She won't get that fight. I think
I think you could potentially see a double retirement after Taylor Serrano free. Yeah. If Serrano wins, you could get a retirement because she can't achieve anything more, and Katie's like, "Oh, well, I've lost one now." So, yeah, I don't think Cameron's a big enough name, unfortunately, for her to warrant that. That's just my Serrano's got the big money back with MVP.
Too big a risk.
Yeah, no, that's it. But no, thanks very much, Jay Liam, and all the guys in the comments. As always, much appreciated for the support. And we'll see you for this show again next week.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you.